Okay, today I want to talk about grudges. I feel that it is very relevant to our spiritual process and our spiritual practice. And let's just simplify it to a fundamental degree, which is in our relationships, whether they are past or present relationships, if we decide to stay in a relationship, but we're going to backtrack ourselves into the past of a relationship and pull up things and use those things to our advantage to criticize or to judge the other person we're in a relationship with. This is my understanding and my idea behind a grudge. And what this leads us into is, for example, let's just say you are in a marriage, you are in a relationship with somebody. And when you start to argue, one or both parties start to pull up things from the past. Oh, you did this. Oh, you did that. You did this. And if those things are so relevant that they stand the test of time, meaning that if you're in a 10-year relationship, 5-year relationship, let's just say, and you're pulling up stuff that happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, if you chose to stay in that relationship, and fast forward 4 years, 2 years, whatever it may be, if you're going to use what happened in the past and hold things over each other and hold things over a person's head, this is not a healthy relationship. And it's one of the things that I think everyone is doing to some degree, which is going back into the treasure chest and pulling out all of the things that we can now use as a way to combat the people we're in relationships with. What I would really like to say here is that if you are going to live in the past and you're going to be gauging relationships off what happened in the past, then you're not really understanding or capable to connect to the present moment. If there is an issue that arises in a relationship, and it could be any relationship with family, friends, spouse, whatever it may be, if you're going to engage in a relationship with somebody, what's happening today and what's happening in the very, very recent past is really where our focus should be. Now, if somebody committed an atrocity against you or did something hurtful to you that is relevant enough to stand the test of time, then maybe you should have exited that relationship a long time ago. But by staying in the relationship, by staying in the pocket, you validate the thing that happened to you. So it's very hard to now bring it up years later or months later and say, hey, you did this thing a long time ago. Okay, well, if I did this thing and it's so bothersome to you, then why did you stay? Why are we still in a relationship? And the fragility of life, and this is really where the point comes in, the fragility of life, the vulnerability of who we are as people. It's like carrying an egg. Now, some people can go through life haphazardly, meaning that while you're going through life, you're throwing the egg up in the air, you are, holding it in the flat of your palm while you're running on rocky surfaces. But then there's people who really guard and protect the egg and treat it with care and treat it with purpose. And this is essentially how our lives are. Life cannot be this haphazard journey where we decide to trail along with us this hazardous past. And so I really implore you this week to take a look at your relationships and see, am I doing this? Am I going back and drudging up the past in order to serve a narrative? Am I using things that were done to me in the past as a way to justify the present? And if this is the case, I can promise you that you are not moving yourself forward. What's coming in the future for you is really a residue of the past. And so please take some time this week, sit down, look at it and say, hey, am I actually living in the past? Am I using the past to justify my present? And now am I going to carry my past and my present into my future? And if that's the case, it's going to be very hard for you to build a place of life where you can appreciate the fragility of your life, where you can appreciate the vulnerability of your life, and that you can treat yourself and the people around you with the kind of respect and courtesy that everybody deserves. And just to oversimplify this, if you find past references to be relevant in the present, and they are things that are really hurtful, things you just can't get over, obstacles you just can't overcome, then you really need to take a look at your present relationships and say, are these relationships a place where I want to maintain myself? Do I want to stay in these places? Or do I want to have healthy relationships where my focus around a relationship is not based off of what happened in the past, but what's happening in the present?